welcome to the Nerd Classes podcast. I muted Dave and I have yet to unmute him. Hold on, I got this. Oh geez, how do I do this? Hold on. Dave, you're back. Welcome back. Hi, you can talk now. Oh, Jesus.
I'm just kidding.
Hi! Oh, I, for me not having an opening gag, we'll just roll with that one. Good job. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Nerd Glasses. We are, as you see, working from home today, like all good people in this world, frankly. And yeah, just I'm also realized that I needed to set a thing really quick. Oh, there we go. Cool. I was like leaning over. I had a setting wrong, guys. I needed to fix it. Okay. Hello. Yeah, it's a little odd not being exactly face to face, but whatever. We're here. We'll make it work. So, let's see here. And I guess we'll just Dave, if you want to start us out because it's been a really long week. I feel like I've said that every week now recently, but it's been a really long week. So, Dave, with weeks this long, certainly there's been a lot that's been going on. So,
So, Boater, when I say the name Trevor Lawrence, does that mean anything to you?
it doesn't sound overly familiar.
I mean, now I know you and I'm just preaching to the choir here. You know that Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback for the college team Clemson. Very big profile player, things like that. And yet the NCAA has managed to once again outfox its own shitty achievements, because even though the NCAA has suspended all of its goings-ons and things like that, they shut down Trevor Lawrence's GoFundMe to help COVID-19 victims because he was using NCAA pictures on the GoFundMe. And so they shut down a GoFundMe that already had a little under $3,000, because, you know, if the NCAA is not getting it put into their pocket, fuck it. God, I hate that organization, and I look forward to watching it capsize.
God,
It won't in our lifetimes,
yeah.
but
I mean, we can hope and we can dream of the day.
speaking of people being shitbags to their employees, Cirque du Soleil, as we know, they run very expensive shows
Continue.
in very expensive places.
Yarp.
And they recently sent over 3,000 employees a video that's a little over 3 minutes.
Okay.
And it basically said, "You're fired."
Okay.
And then they were like, "By the way, some people will reach out to you to talk to you about what's happening and what you can do, but not all of you, just most of you, and the rest of you can just piss up a rope."
Great.
Yeah, so like, to the many people that have quote unquote made it in some of these industries, good for you, I guess. I don't like.
There's a lot of stuff being turned around a whole lot. So, it's just a whole lot of like, hey, cool. This is I was going somewhere and I lost my train of thought again. Welcome to the station, everybody. What's gonna happen is that either I'm gonna stop way the hell over there, or it's just gonna barrel right through without stopping at the platform. That's how it's working tonight.
I got one other company and or big name that's just generally being shitty about things. Where was that? As we know, Boater, you and I being robust sports participators and things like that, we know the difference between
Yes,
FIFA
I am a sports.
and PES, Pro Evolution Soccer, of course, avid players of both of those titles, although they both are quite fun.
I am avid witnesser of both of those titles, yes.
Unfortunately, Barcelona was the national team elected to be on the cover of Pro Evolution Soccer.
Okay.
And so when FIFA recently ran a tournament having the FIFA players play FIFA 20, Barcelona was doing the tournament and they were raising money for UNICEF and things like that. And then they all of a sudden had to withdraw.
Okay.
They then uh, a Konami representative stated, quote, "We can confirm that we did not reach out to the teams and ask them to pull out of the tournaments. We cannot comment any further."
Yay.
So Konami did the one thing that they do best, which is pull out some sort of threat and or thing. Um, so yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Companies are handling this about as mature as large companies
Some
have.
some companies are doing well. Some are realizing that it's not worth the kind of PR disaster. And some, like the one that is in our title this evening, are just making every wrong step they possibly could. So, last week, GameStop said that, and I believe we covered up to this, though honestly, I can't remember what's 7 days ago, what's a week ago, whatever. GameStop insisted that they are an essential business, an essential service. Um, and at first I was like, well, is that because,
Hmm.
so many people are now out of work and home and they should have games to play? Because that's what people said about our bookstore. Like, oh, we think you're an essential service because everybody needs books. I'm like, are they going with that? No, they said we're an essential service because we provide things that people can use while teleconferencing, while working from home. Um, mm, no, you don't. That's Best Buy. A Turtle Beach headset does not a teleconference make. Um, uh, much less a knockoff $25 gaming headset. That being said, Dave, your headset probably strikes me as being a gaming headset from GameStop or thereabouts. So,
No, this is a Best Buy. Uh,
see, Best Buy, not GameStop. So GameStop management, like upper management, corporate said, if law enforcement like handed out flyers to stores and said if law enforcement tries to shut you down, you hand them this flyer, stating why you are an essential service. Um, and that and in response, when they kind of tried pulling that thing, and like first off, there was a big corporate call on Thursday, I want to say about it, and actually a YouTuber managed to get a backdoor invite from someone to listen in on the call, and I did not get the chance to listen through the whole call. But certainly it was the kind of stuff that it's like, no, they're just outright being terrible people. So whether it was because the stores followed that advice and tried to say that, oh yeah, we're totally an essential service, or whether it was just to head that off, the governor of Pennsylvania revoked GameStop's business license, their ability to do business in the state. Just 100% no. We're not buying that. Pennsylvania is one of the four states in the Northwest that has been, along with New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, just basically been like, yes, we're going to take this very seriously. Did I say Northwest? I meant to say Northeast. Um, and along with California doing that a lot as well. But these are states that are taking this very seriously, and the governor was just like, I have no time for this, and straight up like barred off entrance to GameStops. Demon Dragon says, weren't store managers told they could shut down if they want to, but they would be punished for it? Yeah, it was one of those like optional kind of things, where it's like, oh yeah, you could totally do that. There's gonna be repercussions. Just generally being awful the entire time about it. Um, we sell pops. Someone needs to sell pops, so we should be essential. Yeah.
I mean, you should see the online pop community. A lot of them are behaving business as usual. Um, which is interesting considering that nothing's open and I don't know where they're going to buy pops, but they are.
Well, so what GameStop has done now is that I don't know if it's I think it's nationwide, but they are switching to the model of curbside pickup as well as shipping. So you don't go into the store. And my job did this. Go you make
Curbside pickup.
Yeah. As in, like, you call the store and say, yes, I would like to spend $20 on Recore, and when they're done laughing at you,
Yeah,
they then take your payment over the phone.
$20 for Recore Boater. Don't yuck.
It's
Why?
GameStop.
Ugh,
That's why.
ugh.
Um, so, they take your money over the phone, and then you go to the store and you, I don't know, scan the QR code on their door or just call them again, and they walk it out to you, and, I am holding bag, you hold other side of bag, we know touchy. Okay, bye. Um, Dave, we got an order out to the parking lot. That's basically what it is. That's what my job did. Is for one day we did that as our business model, where we ramped up shipping out as well as people being able to pick up curbside only. And even before we did curbside only and people were still able to come into the store, we started offering and advertising curbside so that people could just be like, yes, I'm parked outside the store in a blue Honda Civic. Cool. I'll run your bag out to you.
I would love to have Insane Games as a curbside delivery thing. Um, on Sunday, I've actually had someone call the store and offer to buy our PS3, but then they wanted to trade in something and
Yeah.
like so I would love the idea of doing it just so that I could here's your shit and then run away.
Yeah. Well, and that works with purchase. I don't know how that works for trade-in. I don't know if if you say, oh yeah, cool, I have these three things to trade in. Let me just grab what I got. Yeah, I'm trading in a copy of Control, Outer Worlds, Mass Effect Andromeda, and a disc of Diablo from 1996. And they
Butter,
say online,
can
oh
you
no, we're not
pass
going to
me
take these, but we can take these. And you just hand them to them and then take your thing. And then when they get inside, do they realize, oh, this one doesn't have the friggin' disc in it. So, like, I wonder
Butter,
how
can you
that really
pass me over one of
works.
those games?
Yes, here.
Thank you. I don't want this, Butter. It's a bad game,
Damn it! I was
and I'm
hoping
going to
you
give
would.
you nothing
I
for
was
it.
hoping you would pick up your PlayStation copy of Control.
I have the deluxe edition, sir, and mine looks very fancy. Yours is the plebe edition.
Shut up! I got the game. Okay. But no, like, how do they do trade-ins when they can't look at the disc and say, nope, that one's jacked up, and this one doesn't have the disc. So, like, I wonder how they're doing that edge of that part of their business. But like, that is the latest from GameStop, is that they are now doing a not come in and browse, but it's the kind of thing that they should have done at least a week ago. And when I say, oh, this week has been so long, it's felt like a month and a half, it feels like they should have done it a month and a half ago. And they're just now getting around to going to this method of business.
As I said in chat, I would honestly just take the stuff from the people and meander very slowly into the store, plug it in, be really lethargic about it, and then run back out and be like, I don't want any of this. Like, yeah, I don't want to touch your peasant copy, says Demon Dragon. You're not a real gamer unless you own the controller version of the game.
I was gonna grab the big Diablo 3 box over here, but A, that's too much effort. B, that's Steph's copy. So I have my copy of Recore that has the collector's edition with the statue.
While we're on the subject of control,
Yes, yes, by all means. Oh, good segue. Look at that.
thank you. It's almost like I went to college to do. God damn it.
Communication majors figuring out to get a word in edgewise.
So on March 26th, Control will be adding some DLC Come exactly. Um, but they're going to be getting some DLC. It's going to be the first expansion. Um, Remedy has always done incredibly well with their DLC for the previous games. If you don't have an Xbox One, say, or a PS4, say you have an
Hmm.
Xbox One or the PC, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for the DLC.
Oh, it's a
Um,
timed release, timed exclusive release.
yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the game itself doesn't come out to our Xbox One until June 25th. So, you're going to be
You
getting.
mean the DLC?
Yes, Jesus.
I was gonna say, explain. I have
Well,
finished the game
it's
and you
quite
have
simple,
not.
voter. Did you buy that from GameStop?
Yes, and I had them wing it out the door at my car parked 5 rows away.
Clearly, you offered them money, and by God, as we know, they'll bend over entirely backwards for folks for some
Where did I
games,
get this?
but not for
Best Buy.
others.
Best Buy. That's what that was. Okay.
But you're going to be getting some new abilities, some new maps, and
Mhm.
more exploration. The second DLC is what I'm more interested in because if anyone who has watched my streams or heard me yammer about it, um, it may have ties to Alan Wake,
Oh
and
yeah.
may also potentially talk about an Alan Wake 2 game, and I want it. I want it real bad,
I
and
think
I've been real good, and so I deserve it.
I think the first DLC focuses on the oldest house itself, which for me was some of the most fascinating stuff while playing Control. Was the exploration, finding all the little backstory in documents and stuff. Like that was my favorite stuff. Combat was fine, and certainly got fun as I unlocked new abilities. But the exploration was always where the game was most fun for me, and that they're not just bringing new areas to explore, but also new abilities that will help with that. I saw a preview where, because most of the abilities that you get aid in exploration, being able to fly, kind of thing like that, right? And so when you can see, oh yeah, a patch of some crystal type stuff on the wall, and just go, and it, you know, comes out as a platform for you to jump up on, and then bring another one out from over here. There's another game box over there. Do that kind of thing. So I like that there's new abilities as well that are going to fundamentally tie into the DLC. And it would be really cool if some of them were worked back into the main game. Like, oh, you have this one DLC that has these crystal patches on the wall. That
Yeah.
could be helpful to you here, and we don't feel that it's going to break the sequence of the storytelling, so sure, we'll patch this in right here.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Remedy breaks out for this game. Um, I always feel that their games have been well written, a la your Max Payne's and games that they've made. So it'll be interesting. And their value on the DLCs, they always make sure that it's worth whatever it is they charge for it. I know the season pass for it is 19.99. So
Yeah, so the
for some
DLCs are probably
ability,
going to be 15 each. Season pass, you do it for 20 and get both of them together. So it's probably something like that. Um, yeah, like I'll tell you what. Main thing I want Remedy right now is to buy some Federal Bureau of Control merchandise. I want that mug. I want an ID badge. Damn it! I want these things.
so speaking of wants, needs, and things that you can't get in China, um, Plague Inc.
Sure.
is potentially going to be changing their game forever, or making a new game, and therein maybe expanding their portfolio to two games.
Well, and you're
Um,
talking the Plague Inc. Because I was being incredulous while you were introducing and giving a proper noun.
oh yes.
Okay.
So, Plague Inc., the company that makes it, which is
Endemic Creations.
so Endemic, obviously, like people are buying it because it's fun and ha ha ha, you can make
I
a
mean,
little levity out of the
it's
situation.
it's a great game. The game's been around for 5, 7 years. Is based on a Flash game that came before it. And in Plague Inc., and I know that we covered it a couple of weeks ago when it was banned on the iTunes store in China. It is
Oh, all the
basically.
app stores and Steam, by the way.
Is it by now? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You cannot get that game in China.
Oh yes, sorry. That's what I meant. Is not the rest of the world, but yes, in China it is. It is persona non grata. So you more or less create your own superbug, whether it is a virus or a fungus or a bacteria or whatever. There's basically these things are different difficulty levels that play in different methods, and you hold on to that train of thought, pull it to a stop at the platform, and you shut up. I almost lost it. I recovered it. You create
It's
your
okay.
bug where you can share, create your symptoms, create the ways that it spreads and such like that, with the purpose being to kill off all of humanity. You start in one area, whether you start in the ones that are impossible to get to, like Madagascar and Greenland, or ones with high um, numbers of people like India or China, and you just basically try to infect the world. Um, what Endemic is doing now is saying, hey, a lot of people, number one, yes, they're playing our game because it's like, oh, haha, I can make COVID-19, whatever. But it's also like, I would be really uncomfortable playing that game right now. Like looking at the logarithmic infection curve, and it would be like, ooh, I'm not comfortable with this. Um, and I think Endemic kind of realizes that and see, well, number one, a business opportunity, but number two, a gesture of goodwill. So what they are going to introduce, I hope you don't mind me taking this topic away from you, but I definitely read up on it. What they're going to introduce is not another game, but instead a counterpart second mode to their game. So Plague in this new um, mode of Plague Inc., you instead would be playing on the side of humanity as some sort of bug begins sweeping the globe. And you need to do the research, you need to sequence it, you need to figure out what kind of bug it is. Is it a virus? Is it a bacteria? Um, you, let's see here, and need to enact policies like social distancing or shelter in place or military lockdown in order to try to stem the spread of the virus, and probably with different difficulty levels of like, well, keep the economy going as well because humanity's going to need. Otherwise, you just, oh man, someone coughed, shut down everything, aka the Madagascar way to play. Um, so there's probably going to be some balancing like that. But they are the mode is being designed with the aid of experts from the World Health Organization and the Global Outbreak Alert and Response Network. To which I'm like, aren't you guys a little busy right now? But okay. um, apparently it's question sheet, and when I get the chance to, all right, cool, a couple quick answers, have fun.
I'm sure
Don't
they
put our
have an
name on it.
intern or two.
Yeah. There's no word on when it will launch, but if you already own the game, it is going to be a free additional mode to the game. It is not going to be like paid DLC on top of it. It will be a free update for all players.
And by the way, that company that has made Plague Inc. has donated $250,000 split between the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovations and the World Health Organization. So maybe you buy the game just for shits and giggles,
Yeah,
but you
World
know
Health
that they're not.
Organization, here's an eighth of $1 million to help with COVID-19 research. Do you mind answering a few questions for us as we try to develop a game that's on your guys' side for once? Yeah, so that's like that's kind of like good news. And there's been a lot of like really cool good news stuff that has happened. Um, like Bandcamp normally takes, I think, 15% of the cost of something when someone buys songs from an artist, but on Saturday they waived that and the artist got 100%. A lot of streaming services are coming out with like, um, whether it's introductory rates or whatever. A lot of companies are saying, hey, you know what? You're at home. Let me help. companies that are doing free delivery. If they would normally do like if I was to order from I don't know Pizza Hut and if they had like a $2 delivery charge, they're not charging a delivery charge anymore. Um, because they realize that there are fewer ways for you to do things, and they're trying to make it as convenient as possible for everybody, while also racing each other to that good PR. Um, so Konami should take note.
Exactly, exactly. Um, I'm kind of excited also uh, along the veins of people picking it up and moving it along business as usual. A lot of sporting events and things like that are being canceled. Last week we talked about how sporting companies and things like that were providing other content, and people were actually watching it and not watching programs they would normally watch. But
That was weird. I don't
the
know what that was.
the uh, the anime that got put on in the place of the NBA.
Okay. Yes,
Um,
yes. When you were talking about that last week.
so in this case, F1 Formula One racing is
Yep.
totally canned. People gathering on the sides of the roads, racers.
Yeah, not
It,
a not a not a good scene.
but speaking of, and I can't help but notice that it's the companies that aren't American based are doing stuff like this, like FIFA and or at least the content is non-American based. But FIFA and Formula One, they're having a FIFA party. Um, they are currently getting all of the F1 drivers, local celebrities, former drivers, esports gamers, and some Olympic gold medalists together to do all of the F1 races that would be happening IRL to simulate them in the most recent F1 game.
Huh. That's kind of fun.
It sounds awesome. Unfortunately, the articles that I found didn't have any links to it or any like public presentation of.
Yeah.
But if I searched harder than the article, I could probably find it. But stuff like that sounds awesome. Having these athletes doing the thing, like I mean, in like F1, you can get a steering wheel and you can do these, so you
Mhm.
can easier simulate than you can say if I'm playing. Oh, I'll just pick it out of the blue. If I'm playing as the Buffalo Bills against the Patriots and I'm the starting quarterback, and we thoroughly trounce those bastards in New England, but that's just because fantasy Dave is much better than real Dave.
Well, it's kind of like in years gone by, when people would take the latest we'll say the latest Madden game and try to chart which teams would get to the Super Bowl just by having them sim off against each other. And so it's that kind of like entertainment value, but I like that with that F1 one that it gets the athletes actually in it as well. So that's fun too. And by reaching out with streamers, it brings them closer. It brings these communities closer together because people that are streamers of F1 games aren't necessarily going to be rolling in the same social circles as the F1 drivers. In fact, I nearly guarantee it. Um, and so by being able to do this kind of thing, it actually gets the drivers to be able to interact with the streamers. It's good for them. It's good for the streamers. A way for the drivers to perhaps interact a little more directly with fans in some ways. It's making the best of a bad situation. CJ Playmaker adds NBA 2K, I believe, is doing something similar where they're going to be finishing the NBA season through using 2K.
I'd be really interested to see if they have those records stand.
Yeah, well, it's
Um,
it's it's the kind of thing that like how much do you make it count and how much of it is it just for the entertainment value?
but then again, if you put that much money and you put the like rate, if you put all that money in your endorsement into this game, case could be made that it should count. And a lot
Mhm.
of the players, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the sports games, it's fashionable for me to poo-poo on it because I am a Titanic nerd, but they're good. The
Mhm.
mechanics work. Like they
Yeah.
don't have, you're not WWE games aside, because when you bite off more than you can chew and then you try to mumble through the conversation and then you end up with W2K20. But they tried all these games come out every year and they're solid and they start really well. Um, this year, I look really forward to seeing how the Bills are out of the box because they're going to be good.
Hmm. And I agree with what CJ Playmaker says is that as neat as it would be to have those standings kind of like count, I think it's mostly going to be for entertainment purposes. Like how pissed would you be if like your team has been having a really good resurgent year and then, it's officially goes down in the halls of, standings and all that, if you lose a few games that are simulated by NBA 2K20. How pissed would you be? So I think it is going to be like mostly for entertainment purposes, but that's still going to be really amazing. Like especially, can you imagine tuning into ESPN and they're televising a simulated NBA 2K game? Like that would be awesome.
That would be it would be good, and it would help keep again a sense of schedule and a sense of normalcy for
Yeah, and
everybody.
a sense of novelty because one thing that happens when people are at home 7 days a week is that things get boring. And even if if you are employed and working from home, I'm very happy for you. I am not. I'm working on my YouTube channel. um, but if you are,
YouTube.com/borderbug, by the way.
thank you. If you are employed, like there's still you are home, and there is more time spent at home, and it just gets very rough. And by tuning into your to your NBA game, there's a sense of novelty and something interestingly different by it being played as a video game rather than as as people on the court. And I think that that kind of that novelty, that sense of here's something different, here's something interesting. Please, God, my kingdom for anything interesting, helps to keep that kind of sated.
So
Dave, make the segue I want you. I'm setting you up for it. I'm setting you up for a segue here.
I can't tell which one you're setting me up for, but you
Community
know what
question.
else? Oh, well, I mean, we can do that one, I guess.
I guess. Um, uh, so Dave asked on his community Discord, what service or provider have you found yourself diving into this past week? Because we're at home, and particularly those of us who are underemployed, um, that now have a lot more time to be doing things, more time that needs to be taken up. So, what are you doing? Is there specifically a service provider that you are getting into, or just what have you taken up? And so, Dave, do you want to kick this off? You gave an example at the start.
Um, for me personally, I'm getting a lot of value out of Nintendo Online, playing Animal Crossing, letting people visit my village, things like that.
Uh huh.
On my Discord, I posted friend codes, by the way, so if everyone wants to jump into that, they're welcome to. Um, I'm also leaning heavily on Hulu to provide just background white noise.
Okay.
Um, a lot of King of the Hill, a lot of Archer, and Bob's Burgers, and it's been a very good time.
I haven't gotten like a new service a new service or anything like that, but I sat down and started watching the Castlevania anime with Steph, something that she had watched before, and I'm getting into. Um,
Boater, you should definitely tune into Retro Mondays and watch Mike trounce Castlevania. It is the
I
funniest
noticed he was
program.
playing that last night.
Oh, it's been so good. It's
I
been so good, Boater.
Okay, okay. I will have to catch up. That is something there. I will have to catch up on some past videos here at Insane Games TV because it's a little hard to watch all the programs, but being able to go back through old videos like that,
There's
definitely
so
something
much
I'll have to
value
do.
for your follow. You're getting
Boom.
more than 4 podcasts, more than 12 streamers. Mwah.
I also started playing Final Fantasy 15.
Nice.
So that is going to take up quite a lot of time. So that does me for this week at least. CJ Playmaker saying a lot of YouTube, Amazon Music, watching you dudes, playing 2K and Need for Speed Heat.
Um, I know Kid Icarus Kid answered that he's just Animal Crossing.
Animal
Um,
Crossing, yeah, that's Animal Crossing and Doom both coming out has been really good for a lot of people this week. My Twitter has been probably about 2/3 Animal Crossing, 1/3 Doom, both just as vocal as each other. Been really nice.
I
Um, Demon Dragon going through a second playthrough of Final Fantasy 15, which is where I was like, huh. She went to go pick up lunch a few days ago, and I'm like, grab controller, set up my profile on PS4, which I had never actually done, and start game. And I'm trying to do the tutorial while she's on the phone with her parents, and I'm like, I can't find how to do this thing, and she's like, do the thing. Yes, mom.
I Demon Dragon in chat, but my job is classified essential, so I'm still at work. I have a similar issue, and I also apparently volunteered for something, and then those chickens came to roost. So bok bok. Uh,
Egg.
um, Vladdy93 said, I second the Animal Crossing and Nintendo Online, but for services, I'm mostly thankful for Blackboard Collaborate, allowing me to do classes online. Schools are really stepping up. As someone that works in education, educators are really trying to, if your classes weren't online, provide online content and online services. I work with elementary special education, so it's a very tricky subject, very tricky thing to try to have kids that are nonverbal and things like that
Hmm.
and teach them things. But the staff I work with and for have been busting their humps and proud of them and love them. Um, but yeah, I know that a lot of courses and a lot of things suddenly had to go online when.
Yeah, and there's, I'm hearing things from teachers that are like, oh, I teach auto mechanic. I can't exactly get someone under the hood of a car online. Like, so there's a lot of creativity having to be worked with in order to
Yep.
get everything working correctly. There's a lot of just winging it because this is uncharted territory for a lot of people. Not just the professors, but a lot of students. Well, more the professors. I think students are okay with a lot of things with going to online. But it's professors that are, trying to get these different services. WebEx is another one, and when people had a lot of issues connecting to WebEx, when it all of a sudden was like, oh god, our user base, like, what's the power of, like, quadrupled, because quintupled is the highest one I know, but like 10 or 20 rather than 5. Um, our user base exploded. Uh, and we don't have, like, they're trying to get back on board with that, but then, like, oh hey, what else can we use rather than WebEx for teaching classes? And it's like, Minecraft. Hop on Discord, get in a voice server, and um, imagine the culinary kids are all getting Rachel Ray or other Food Network star lessons. Actually,
uh,
I've seen authors that were going to be doing book tours that obviously had to be canceled are doing just their talks remotely for anyone to be able to participate in. Mo Willems is a really well-known and respected children's author and artist. Does the Elephant and Piggy series as well as others, and he did something a couple days ago. So like that's a really cool thing that's happening. A lot of like creators of all different uh, sizes,
Genres and
calibers are able to have that this kind of reaching out, and it's not the same as face to face, but this wouldn't have been happening beforehand, so it's a really good way to make the best of a poor situation. I saw something where like, oh yes, we're gonna, backtracking a little bit, I saw something where, oh yeah, we're gonna do graduation in Minecraft. Can you imagine? Let's just like, all right, cool, we're gonna assemble the auditorium in Minecraft, and then we'll hold the ceremony here.
if it works, it works. I know that Rafe Wolf in chat, who's here right now, also chatted in the Nerd Glasses question of the week, and Ray Wolf's usually streaming a lot of WoW and doing incredibly well at it, and very entertaining, by the way. So if you're into that sort of field, give that a follow.
Send a follow over her way.
Um, More than usual, her and Ilk started watching Black Flag, and then we're doing jigsaw puzzles and non-tech related things. Um, the Rescue Pets mobile game, St. Patrick's Day event just ended, and I took 29th overall. That's amazing. Also, using the time to catch up on old movies like Rat Race, which I love that movie.
Oh God, I. She's like, oh yeah, I haven't watched it in 15 years. I'm like, I haven't watched it in 15 years. I don't. It might be another 15 until I finally watch it again. But I remember the salient points.
Well, Boder, don't you forget that it's nothing. It's nothing but a punch in the face.
Um, Rafe also points out in regards to WebEx that she's been hearing of classes and businesses who had moved on to WebEx are now trying to find alternatives, not just because WebEx is really bogged down, but because medical professionals can use WebEx. Let's clear this video conferencing service so that the people who in this time most need to be able to talk to each other and exchange information, knowledge, be that brain trust, are able to actually get onto it and use it.
Yeah, hello. Um, Contending with someone that's mad that I'm not using the other chair in the room, and she suddenly noticed that I got a stool. Um, I tricked you for at least half an hour. Um,
Kitty. Hi, Savannah.
you say hi. Oh, I know. Mwah.
The upsides of the Nerd Glasses podcast at home. Chance for pets. The downside of Nerd Glasses podcast at home. Getting distracted by the pets for 5 or 10 minutes.
Speaking of distractions and things that topics we definitely wandered far away from.
Yes. There was
But
another
remember how
segue set up 10 minutes ago.
at the beginning of and if by the way you have an answer for that community question in chat, please absolutely make your voice heard.
Mhm.
If there's any topic we're talking about, we'd love to hear from you as well. All of the segs.
Segues.
Remember when we first started the Nerd Glasses, there was a lot of speculation about what the PlayStation 5 and what the Xbox, what did we figure the name was going to be?
I forget.
The
I remember
the
there
1640 Pop Shove It.
I had a good name that I really enjoyed, but ever since they came out with the actual name of it, I don't know.
But
Anyway.
we got confirmation on something that I'm very excited to clear up, because in the store, I've had to let some customers know not to hoard PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and original PlayStation games, because they will not be backwards compatible from disc to the PlayStation 5.
They will not be compatible at launch. When you say they won't be compatible with disc, do you mean like you won't be able to pop in the disc and then it'll just download a thing and say, here you go?
Yes.
Okay.
They have released officially what they mean by backwards compatibility.
And is that as much of the back catalog as they can license is going to be available for purchase on the PlayStation Store?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that doesn't help us at all for being able to play Shadow Hearts.
But
Boo.
what they will be doing is at the release of the PlayStation 5, there will be at minimum 100 PS4 titles, and they're using the ranked play times that people are using them to put them onto the system.
Okay.
And then they're going to be adding games a handful at a time. The problem is with the efforts of AMD and Sony and things like that, they have to test each game individually to make sure that when it goes in, it works.
Well, that's exactly, even going back to the Xbox 360 to play original Xbox games, every single thing had to be tested, and that's why sometimes things dropped from the backwards compatible list, is because, all right, cool, we just needed to change this one little registration thing over here, and boom, now we download a little patch and the game works, and they don't realize that, 3/4 of the way through the game, there's a fatal error that keeps you from actually getting through it, and then, turns out it doesn't actually work, and they drop it off the list. Um, and so unfortunately, at least on the Xbox side, I haven't double checked what their backwards compatibility situation is going to be like, but I imagine it's going to be a similar kind of thing where it's going to play most of the previous generation, some of the generation before that, and probably like 10 original Xbox games.
And then they're going to slowly disappear some of those games. By the way, people don't realize it, and it's not the end of the world. But as a Sony fanboy, I have to point out that Microsoft has been slowly deactivating some of the original Xbox titles and Xbox 360 titles from compatibility with the Xbox One.
Really?
Just by the way,
Which
if you
ones?
check,
Like, do you know?
it's none that are like pivotal or important, but like brute force for the Xbox was deactivated from backwards compatibility,
Hmm.
things like that. I bet it has to do with licensing,
Yeah.
um, but at the same time, it also was a pain in the ass because at Insane Games we do the nice thing and put the backwards compatibility stickers on them,
Oh,
and
so you
then I
gotta
had
pull them
to
back off. Yeah.
take that off.
So that's okay. So can we take a moment and complain about licensing because I remember that we played Alan Wake a couple of years ago
Yep.
because it had to be pulled off of Steam and such because they lost the license to music that they had used. And unfortunately, that kind of thing happens a lot when something is available on an online marketplace, and that's what PS5's backwards compatibility is going to be, an online marketplace, rather than playing off of the disc. When you have something off of a marketplace, there's no guarantee. Like Deadpool had its stuff licensed, and then the license lapsed, so they
Mm.
took it off. And then when the Deadpool movie came out, they renewed the license for a couple more years, and then took it back off. There was a video that was talking about, lawyers say you can't play these games or whatever clickbaity title they had on it. Um, and a lot of it was just licensing issues. The licensing ran out, so you couldn't do it. And of course, it didn't have the most interesting one that is lawyer says you can't play these games anymore, and that was Too Human,
Ooh.
uh, which is always fascinating to me in a very angry way because that game is going to be perfect for the Citadel when I get around to it eventually because that game is flawed but fun. And Silicon Knights licensed the Unreal engine to make the game, and then said that Unreal wasn't doing enough to support the engine and that they were taking the engine licensing money and developing Gears of War rather than developing the engine. And so then didn't pay the licensing fees for that. Um, and then Unreal sued them for the engine licensing fees, and then Silicon Knights countersued them, and it got all the way to a really high court, which ended up with a judgment saying that, you can't sell this game anymore. Destroy all unsold copies. This game is
It
no
made it to
more.
federal court, by the way. Um,
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, I figured it wasn't like Supreme Court, but I think it was some sort of federal. And I forget if that was in here or Canada because Silicon Knights is a Canadian company. Um, but yeah, basically the decision was this game cannot be sold. Destroy and return all unsold copies to be destroyed. So if you have a used copy of Two Human, man, if it was a good game, it'd be really valuable right now. As it is, track one down. It's good. It's fine. That was a
there are
tangent,
there
but
are copies of it floating around too. I know in the store before I was aware of the lawsuit and everything that was going. God, you are shedding. Um, before I was aware about the licensing and everything shutting everything down, we've had like 6 copies come through the store in the last like 2 years.
hmm
So
yeah,
for a
exactly.
crappy game, it gets around.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting. And it's one of those that, of course, because um, like it will never be compatible on Xbox One because they would need to have a patch or something downloadable for it, which would require them to have a license to do it. So you need to have a 360 to play that game.
And they will never have a
And
license again.
this thing is going to be true of anything for backwards compatibility for licensing if they do it with an online marketplace style. So Steph and I need to find, a perfectly working, good quality disk drive PS2 in order to play this game of hers because it has just a few light scratches, but our PS2 is so old that it won't read it. And we've tried with multiple discs, so it's time to try with multiple PS2s because it's not going to work in a PS3, it's not going to work in a 4, and now we know it's not going to work in a 5.
The good news will be that even though Sony had to back out the backwards compatibility on the 3, thereby having the costs of the
Mm-hmm.
system from a $600 price tag to a $300 price tag.
Because when they did the 3, they didn't do it as the downloadable patch thing. They took a PS2 and said, "This is your home now." They shoved a PS2's guts into the PS3, and that
Yep.
wasn't super comfy, and that's why they broke down a lot.
Um, so the good news is, so for example, my almost now $120 copy of PS4 Godzilla, it will not be compatible right away, but they'll get to it, and I'm very excited for that.
I'm sure it will, Dave. Let's all let them think it will be.
Please. Um, Speaking of content creation, licensing, people pointing fingers at each other, and Nintendo, uh, the game Dreams, which has exploded people's creativity and ideas and things like that,
Yep, it's
recently.
by the same developer as Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet
Yes,
was, hey, here's the game and its mechanics. Create your own levels for it and share your levels. Dreams goes even farther than that and says, just make a whole game. Just go for it. Make the game for us. It'll be fun.
it's the only place you can play Bob's Burgers, the game, and I want it. But a
Maybe I can make a
popular
sequel to Two Human in it.
a popular designer piece of craft, the name, made a Mario level
Okay.
and then announced that they would have to take the level down. And of course, the internet tried to come to the aid of the person saying, you don't necessarily mean they claimed it. It could be someone jealous creator. Make sure make sure you report that this may not be exactly right. And Piece of Craft just said, no, Sony reached out to me and said that it was Nintendo that asked me to stop working on this.
Yeah.
So it's frozen to the point where they can access the file, but they can no longer open it.
Oh, wow.
So like Nintendo totally like cease and desisted the shit out of that thing.
Yeah, and I watched a video a couple weeks ago of someone that made a Mario Battle Royale last year as like a flash game, and that was, within a couple days taken down as well. And, we had to remake it as a DMCA Takedown Battle Royale.
It's
Kitty.
the same reason that hello Savannah, welcome back to the program. Um, it's the same reason that when people were calling for Animal Crossing to get released early, it absolutely was not going to happen because Nintendo is ironclad in their edicts and their decisions.
GameStop did release some copies of Animal Crossing early.
And I hope that those players did not have Nintendo Online or draw too much attention to themselves because Nintendo
I
will.
think in that instance, for one day early, Nintendo was like, cough. Well, okay, it's bad term, but like, oh, what's that? Oh, it appears that you have that on release day. Good for you. Um, but
The thing that I'm hoping though is they could have easily done the Poseidon from SpongeBob zap and zap and
yeah.
zap.
And so this will be the second week in a row that I mention it, but this past week, Tom Scott had a really good video talking about how copyright works and how people think it works, which is how it doesn't. Like, even if it wasn't Nintendo trying to claim it, the fact that he made a Mario game is 100% not okay. That Bob's
Yep.
Burgers game that you mentioned on there, 100% not okay. Now, the production company may turn a blind eye to it. Um,
Oh, they love it, by the way. They're sending people to it because the company that makes Bob's Burgers is going to be making a movie, but they cannot afford to make a game. So
yeah, and so
it's a win-win for them, but in many cases,
but
you're
they
going to
would
get a
be
slap on
well
the wrist.
within their legal rights to go to the creator and just say no, take that off the marketplace, or say pay us licensing rights for our intellectual property. Legally, they're entirely within their rights to do that with the framework. I do recommend checking out Tom Scott's video on it. It's a
Yeah.
45-minute video, which is insanely long for him. He normally does like 5-minute videos, but it's really worth watching. And yeah, so it talks about that. It talks about the legality of like reaction videos, what is actually parody and what is actually fair use. Hint: it's not what you think. And so all these things that are up there, anything that enables that kind of creativity, people are going to try to make these things that are licensed characters that they do not have the actual license for. Um, and so, more or less, Sony had to be ready for that. And I'm sure as soon as it released, Nintendo was like, all right, we're gonna three, two, one. There it is. Strike down.
Yeah. Um,
Because if
so
you can make a game, someone's going to make a Mario. It's just
exact
what
well,
happens.
exact. Um, making something, building an empire, and then getting told you can't do that thing. That's a lot of egg on your face. Would you not agree, Boder?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, recently, satirical Twitch streamer Caseytron was suspended for Twitch called it an insensitive coronavirus joke, but there's edgy and then there's just piss poor timing.
Uh huh.
Um, the streamer was on a reality show stream called Roger Roger.
Was on a reality show stream. Continue.
Yes, based on The Bachelor, where these panelists would interview for a person. It was basically like a dating game Bachelor combination,
Okay.
but they got asked a question if they would kiss the particular person that week. They said yes. So everyone oohed, nod, and laughed because social distancing, this and that and the other.
Yeah.
Would have been totally fine had you have ended with that. Everyone would have applauded. Um, but then they went so far as to then say, and I'm quoting them here.
For
Um,
purposes of criticism, review, and for journalism purposes, quoting. Go ahead.
quote, and we would leave quarantine and we would try to spread it as much as possible because the world would be a better place without old and poor people. And
Just when you
Twitch
think it's bad, it gets worse. Cool.
and and so Twitch, being a company that has never been shy about telling people you can't make your money here anymore,
Uh huh.
GTFO, there's the door, um, immediately got on that and said, no, you're
No.
gone.
Yeah, you can't make your money anymore. GTFO, there's the door.
Um, so remember, folks, that even if you think no one's watching, and even if you think no one's listening, and even if you think it's funny and everyone laughs in the room and it's not funny.
Yeah.
And you will have some sort of comeuppance for the shitty things you say in closed doors eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, speaking of shitty things that deserve to be shut behind closed doors, Boater. Now, this is something that made me laugh. A lot of the folks who watch us and support streamers around us and things like that are aware of raid bosses in MMOs and things like that.
Yeah.
Would you not agree?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So exactly, CJ. Negativity leads to more negative results. Um, plus, as we say in the theatrical world, if you practice it that way, it's going to come out that way in live performance. So professional it up, huh?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean it's that whole thing of an action makes a habit makes a character, makes a character kind of thing. There's more steps in there, but yeah, it's like you know, don't just try to be nice when the camera's on. Just try to be a nice person, and then you will be nice when the camera's on.
Um,
And you won't be someone that has to get kicked off Twitch.
exactly. Like we've managed to find almost every week. um, you're never too big to fail. Just remember that. Um, so Microsoft has had an issue, but in a way that's I think really funny and
You're
more
never too
convenient.
big to fail. And now, Microsoft.
Microsoft has been working on making AI that would change raids in MMOs without them needing to necessarily code it every week or look at it or things like that.
Okay.
The issue is that they created the perfect killing machine, and it basically um, learns, because you know how people find dominant strategies in raids and things like that, and
Yeah,
what
yeah.
works. But the problem is that the AI would then learn to block that. Oh, and this one, and that one, and this one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and so they would become unbeatable. Um, so
Which is an
the
interesting thing because when you're developing an AI like that, when you're developing something using a black box that will be able to learn from itself, um, you will you need to not just say you need to win. With something like that, you need to say you need to let the players win 25% of the time,
yeah,
10% of the 5% of the time, whatever. And so like it's something that would learn to not just block the players, but also to let players through, ideally in different ways.
but it's really hard to tell a computer that sees things in black and white a very gray area answer. Like you do function A, but sometimes you don't do function A. And I know in coding you can make that and things like that, but that's the whole point is Microsoft is working on AI that will be able to develop itself without needing go live patches and things like that. And I'm
Yeah.
very excited to see how that shakes out and develops.
Yeah, which is it's really fun when you try to see what you can do procedurally. And that's kind of been like the holy grail of what can we do procedurally, so that we don't have to manually do something. And that goes back to, well, like roguelikes are
Yeah.
procedurally. Um, let's say that it's the Diablo 1 where the levels are created procedurally from the ground up. Um, even something where you write the rules so that instead of having to have a bitmap in your for a texture, you just tell the computer how to draw that bitmap on its own if it takes up a little less space. And procedural animation is something that I kind of got into, not like myself because God knows I can't, but like got into the how interesting that can be and what it can mean for game design. And I like that this kind of using an AI um, to play for all intents and purposes to play your raid boss, as though there's it's like you have your raid boss and you have his minions, whatever, but then you have like uh, someone in middle management who is like looking and saying, okay, I think we can optimize our strategy. Boss, why don't you try this? And when they come in there, guys, how about you try this? Good? Yeah. All right, guys. Good going, team. We're going to get this next time. So I really like that idea of doing that. Yes. But again, it needs to have that like programmed in state of like, let them get through a couple times because the goal isn't to be unwinnable. The goal is to make it a challenge that can ultimately be beat.
It's not the Kobayashi Maru. The goal is not to fail in some
Yes.
way, it's to win.
Yes. Um, and I cut you off before you started, but like so Microsoft more or less pulled that AI for being like, "Ooh, that's not
Oh my
ready,"
god,
right?
yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, it's more or less like, okay, that is. Oh, what? Oh, damn it! I can't remember. There was some manga that is probably also an anime at this point, but more or less like this one manager that ends up getting captured by the devil and is like, you know what? We can make a lot of structural changes around here that are going to make things a lot better for your kingdom of hell on earth. And more or less that character um, has been put on administrative leave and may be back later on.
Oh God. We can talk about so many like for example when Apple let Siri try to learn from us as people using Siri, and then they had
Satan's Secretary, that's the name of the manga. Okay, sorry. Satan's Secretary. Continue.
no worries, they had to kill that version of Siri because it unlearned the English language.
Yeah. Or when Microsoft first made like that chatbot AI that then ended up interacting with a bunch of awful people and basically became a Nazi skinhead in about 36 hours, and then they were
Yep.
like, yoink! Put that one on the shelf, never speak of this again.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of why we can't have nice things, Boulder, it's 8:30, and it looks like we're gonna have to push Death Stranding
Oh,
off
we're
to
pushing
next
that way.
week.
We're pushing this way.
So so sad that we're gonna
Yes.
have to push it off for another week.
Yes.
But
And we're
you know,
seeing we are, today all of Insane Games TV has been streaming from home because the Wilton Mall has been closed for cleaning. We are not yet sure if we will be returning to the studio next week or whether we will be doing it from the comfort of our own homes with our own backdrops here, like we've got. But either way, whether we are here or there, we will be right here at twitch.tv/insanegamestv underscore. And if we are from the studio, we'll also be on other platforms as well. But always, check back right here. We'll be here every Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern, right after 2v Tuesdays.
and Boulder, what? So we started off at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays with the amazing skills on 2v Tuesdays. Then we carry into the nerdy discussions on the nerd glasses. What's coming up next?
Coming up next is The Citadel with yours truly. And as I am playing from home, I had a look through my Steam library and I said, what's going to be fun to play tonight? And that is going to be The Bard's Tale,
Hell
uh,
yeah!
which got a re-release on Steam in 2017, but originally came out in like the Xbox and GameCube era. Is voiced by Carrie Yules of Princess Bride fame. So I am really, really looking forward to that. I think that is going to be a really fun time on the Citadel tonight. What's going to happen is that I'm going to go offline here. It's going to take me about 5 minutes tops to get a couple things updated, and then the pre-roll will be live for a 10-minute countdown for you to get into chat, and say hello. So looking forward to that.
More
Uh,
like rigor mortis sliding in right at the end of the program. And
Boom!
thank you
Made
for
it!
joining us.
Hey,
Thank you
you
to
know what? It
everyone.
counts for numbers. It counts for unique chats. It counts for unique viewers. It counts. Thank you, more like rigor mortis. Your timing is impeccable.
But seriously, guys, thank you to everyone for any time you join us for a minute, for the whole program, to chat once, to chat a bunch of times. We really appreciate it, and it means a lot to us to have you here. Um,
Thank you.
and
Thank
it
you to everybody that was here today and chatting. Fatboy with the chain, Mr. Wet, Mark 2164, Vladdy, Rafe Wolf, Demon Dragon, CJ
CJ
Playmaker.
Playmaker.
Yep. I think I got Mark. Yep, Mark. I think I got everybody scrolling back up through here, and more like rigor mortis sliding in at the end. Thank you to everybody that came in, chatted, had a good time. This has been the Nerd Glasses podcast. And that's it for us for tonight. So stay tuned right here for the Citadel. Have a good night, everybody.